Welcome, everybody, to the City of Farmers Branch study session for Tuesday, June 17th. First item of business is public comment. I have one person signed up to speak, but I'm not sure whether this is for a study session or a regular meeting. This is Susan Pirtle. So I will call her again at the regular meeting. And are you wanting study session or now? Study session? Okay. Next up will be Kate Bergeron. So let me just read my part real quick. So there's a 3-minute time limit for each citizen to speak. All speakers shall comply with the city rules of decorum and conduct for public hearings and citizen comment, which is available for review on the city's website. Please, no disparaging remarks directed at any city council member of a board or commission, or any other staff. And with that, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Kate Bergeron, 2941 Ermine Way. And I did want to address this at study session. I am looking at the consent agenda, and as a resident who knows that accountability and trust, which includes transparency according to the sign in the hallway, is important to you, I think that you guys need to think about the financial numbers on what you're putting into consent agenda. I noticed that in the water rates conversation that is in the consent agenda, I know that wasn't a study session, but I think that residents deserve to hear more comments, your guys' thought processes. I'm not sure what the financial limit is. We shouldn't be hearing about everything that's $100,000. You guys are dealing with a lot of money. But for sure, the water rates, that's a $3.5 million contract. Maybe the ones that are $1.5 million, $1 million as well. I would like to see those in the regular agenda item instead of consent agenda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. That is all the folks I have signed up to speak for that. So our next item is item C1, review and discuss consent and regular agenda items. Councilman Roman?
Nothing from me.
Councilwoman Bennett?
I would like to pull J12 and J13 for regular agenda items. Further discussion.
So J12 will become L2. J13 will become L3 on the regular agenda. Anything else? Councilman Reed?
I was going to request the same thing.
Very good, thank you. Councilwoman Villafranca?
Not at this time, thank you.
Councilman Neal?
Yes, I have some questions about J2. I'm not sure if staff can assist or not, but.
Hello, Mayor, Council, Aaron Flores, City Secretary, Deputy Director, Administrative Services.
Thanks, Aaron. I understand this this particular item is to bring all the committees in alignment with a 3-term, 2-year term each. And I'm just curious as to how the current member terms will be adjusted or handled, as some of them are in a 3-year term, and how we're going to handle those sort of adjustments, if at all. We have several people on planning and zoning that are on their first term ending 3 years. Is it going to be changed and altered for another 3 years? Or are they going to get two more years? I don't know how that, could you help me understand how that's going to work?
Sure. So I consulted with the city attorneys on the best way to handle that, because attempting to do it midterm would be very difficult. We are going to let all of the members that are currently serving finish out their term until it expires, and then the new appointee or reappointee will start with the new term limit.
Okay, so if I have a current member of committee that's serving a 3-year term, and their term comes to an end, for which previously they would have had the right to extend for an additional 3 years.
Right.
What happens to them at the end of this first term? What happens to them?
They would be reappointed for 2 years, and then following that, because it is not the full 6-year limit, we would allow them to serve another term.
Okay, so they'd be able to extend.
Yeah,
for
so
at
they
least
would have a
another-
total of 7 years,
Okay.
but in this circumstance, until the ones that we currently have are all phased out, that's how it has
And
to play
I
out.
just didn't see that explained in the documentation here. Is that something
Yes.
we can clarify or
Yes.
keep note of, so in the future?
Yes, definitely. After this, if this gets approved tonight, we'll be training all of our board liaisons on the new process.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. That's the only clarification I needed on J2, Mayor, but I do have some questions on J4.
Okay.
This is regarding the continuance of the historical preservation, restoration boards, et cetera, until 2030. Does this cause any limitation on future councils to dissolve one of those committees, if so desired by the council at that time, before 2030?
No, it doesn't. Our city charter specifically states that any of these boards can be dissolved at any time prior to 2030 if it's the will of the council.
Okay, I'm not willing to get rid of any of them. I want to keep them, but,
Yes.
you know, council will be changing between now and 2030, and just didn't know if there was a restriction on them. That's the only questions I have on J4. I have questions on J5.
All right.
Is that you, Aaron, also?
Yes.
I think we spoke briefly about this some time ago at our last meeting about application deadlines and specific dates. Can you share with how those dates are shared and put forth? I have a couple of residents who wanted to participate, but they were not made aware of the deadlines, nor was I. So how do we facilitate those members?
So we have not been clear enough on that in past. So from going forward, we're going to have a clear deadline of May 1st. We always just said May because it's a tricky process when we start getting to the end and we start processing applications. And it just depends on the current circumstances. So in the past, that's how we've done it. But going forward, we're going to have a clear deadline of May 1st so that everyone is aware.
Okay, and you'll
Yes, we will
assurances that
advertise
the
that.
council will be aware of those dates as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have for J5, but I do have questions on J6, 7, and 8.
Fire away.
I'm just inquiring as to who the developers are for each of these three projects, asking for demo rebuild assistance.
Hello, Megan Holloway, Economic Development Manager. So for the first one that you mentioned, it is a Todd Bonneau 6,
Okay.
7 Todd Bonneau, and 8 is Sunstone.
Is who?
Sunstone Development.
Sunstone, okay. And that's all I have for those. I just want to know who those builders were going to be. So that's all I have for the time being. Mayor, I do have a question on J12 and 13, which I think we've moved to regular agendas.
Very good.
We
Thank
can
you.
sit then. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Next up is item C2, discuss and provide direction on the demo rebuild program.
Hello, Mayor and Council, Megan Holloway, Economic Development Manager. I am here today to bring back the demolition rebuild program for your consideration and direction. Since the last time we spoke, the team sought developer feedback, and those three columns up there are the feedback we received from the developers. They mentioned program simplification, that the program is a little complex and difficult to explain, so process simplicity would make it more clear. Equity and fairness, a clear and consistent standard, and expanding the program reach into other neighborhoods to utilize it. This is the current program guidelines as they stand. And we are bringing this back for simplifying the program for budgeting and having a single tier instead of that 4-tier guideline. So option 1 that you see up here is the 4-year tax rebate. And on the right-hand side, you will see cash grant amounts for the $10,000 grant amount or a $20,000 grant amount. And then on the right-hand side is the 3-year tax rebate option, again, with a $10,000 grant or a $20,000 grant, and how long it will take for the city to get a return on investment, including the estimated annual sales tax and that grant. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
So this item was brought forward by me as well as Councilwoman Bennett. I'm going to let her go first.
I don't really have any questions. I think we've discussed this ad nauseum, but I like option 2 with the 3-year, the $10,000 grant.
Okay. Do we have any metrics as to the number of participants at each level, say, historically looking at this? And what that has cost the city and where we are today in terms of our potential liability and in terms of payouts?
Yes, so to answer the question on all-time incentive numbers, I have it broken down by district. So District 1, we've seen 37 homes, District 2, 25 homes, District 3 is 40 homes, and District 4, I'm sorry, those are the incentive numbers. Let me go back to the district numbers. I'm looking at the wrong thing, I'm sorry. District 1 is 4 homes, District 2, 18, 3 is 21,
Wait a minute.
4 is 17, and 5 is 99. So that is of all time since the program started. I can get the number for the cost. I can get that information to you.
Megan, while you're providing numbers, typically how many do we have per year and how many have we had this year so far? I think that's important for the council to see the popularity of the program.
Yes, so this year we've had 23 homes.
And Megan, those numbers that you just gave us, the 4, 18, 21, 17, 99, those are those all-time numbers?
Those are all-time numbers.
Okay. And for looking at the budget, as we get ready to start those discussions for the 25-26, do you know what our liability is in terms of if all of these homeowners reapplied, because the onus is on the homeowner to apply every year for their rebate. If they all reapplied, how much would that impact our budget? Do you know?
I don't have that number in front of me, but I'll get that to you.
You got an idea?
Are we talking the existing program or are we
Yeah,
talking?
the existing program.
Each house on average is about $30,000 to $40,000 total budgetary impact. So that it ranges, and that's the complexity of the program that makes tracking very difficult because it's also values are changing and moving. On average, 30 to 40,000. There's outliers on both sides, but typically you can expect at least around 30,000 in incentives walking out the door.
And so with this, what we're seeing here tonight, you got two options that have been presented, and this would basically, as I understand from previous discussion, cap what our yearly liability is in terms of the budget implication, correct?
It would give us a way of setting a number. We could always come back to council as the funds started to be depleted in the account based on the number that's budgeted.
Okay, because let's say something miraculously happened and interest rates went low again, and everybody decides to take advantage of demo rebuild program, we could potentially be looking at more than 20 homes in 1 year, let's say.
Correct, and the current year's at 23, and you have more on the agenda tonight, so it
Yes.
stays popular.
Yes, okay. All right. Thank you. Councilman Roman?
I'm fine with the 3-year tax rebate and $10,000 cash grant.
Thank you.
Councilwoman, do you have anything else?
Yes, sir.
All right. Councilman Reed?
Okay. I agree with the 3-year tax rebate, but I prefer the 20,000.
Councilwoman Villafranca?
I'm in favor of option 2. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Neal?
I would concur. I would agree with Councilwoman Bennett Burton regarding option 2. I do have another question regarding persons who, as the mayor mentioned, they have to reapply pretty much every year for their rebate.
Yes.
By us switching to this, does this have any impact to them because they had originally, the original program for them was different than what we're proposing here? Would they be able to continue that reapplication under the old terms, the old agreement
Yes,
that
they
we had
would.
previously? So there'd be no changes to those folks
Correct.
in the
That is
program
correct.
today?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
Okay. And so is this, I'm just gathering by what I heard, if option 2 is selected and you elect to go with 3-year tax rate rebate program, is it going to be at one or the other, 10 or 20?
That would be up to your discretion. So we would select either a 10 or 20.
Okay. So, people that are building $1.5 million structures, $10,000 isn't a whole lot. And that barely covers the cost of tearing down a structure. The average cost of tearing down a one-story structure is about $7,500. So you're just barely covering that. And of course, the way home prices are spiking now, the more expensive homes, it's almost $10,000 is almost negligible. So I guess my question to the city manager would be, would it make sense if it was $10,000 up to, say, 800, and then anything over 800 could qualify for the 20? Or is that, are we getting back to what we're trying to get away from?
That would be getting back to what we're trying to get away from and adding lines and variables, because then we have to say what assessed value when, what happens when the value crosses the threshold. To keep it simple was one of the feedbacks we've got from both staff and also the builders that are involved in the program. So the recommendation also from a budgeting perspective is to have that fixed number so we know how much to put in the budget based on historical performance.
Okay. Megan, did you meet with the builders themselves or directly to ask them if this program was truly beneficial to them in terms of helping them to sell Farmers Branch?
Yes, that was part of the conversation.
And what was their,
Yes,
so they want to continue?
they want to continue the
Did
program.
they have a preference as to at what amount?
They were presented with both amounts, and they said that, overall, that was okay. It looked good to them. So I can go back and share those, but
But they didn't express preference of 10,000 versus 20.
they did not.
Okay, I'm just curious. Okay. Since we're not taking any action on this evening, I'd sort of like to find out from them. And maybe it makes sense to say, okay, where do most of the homes, Todd Bonneau, Tom Cusick, Mike Kleber, because those are the 3 that I know of, where do they fall improvement-wise? Okay, let's set the lot to the side, but where do they fall? And just try to get a sense, maybe just from those 3, and give them the opportunity to weigh in, because I think this affects their business as much as anything else. Not them, we're not here to try to give them business, but we are here to generate what's right for residents of Farmers Branch moving forward. So, but I'd like to get that input from them, so maybe it will help council to say, okay, if 3 years is the way we want to go, then this 10 or 20,000 makes sense, and just see what they say.
Okay.
And then we can bring that back for when we have our next actions on
Yeah,
this.
just want to make sure is the general feedback is 3 years, 10,000. Council can change that, but set for action at the next available meeting so we can move this item to complete. Is that a fair?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I have another question too, if you don't mind. But
Yeah,
yes,
go
I
ahead.
agree with that. Can you tell me on average how many annually we generally field from this program?
So this year, it is higher than other years. We have 23 this year. Last year, we had 15, and in the past, it's been in the teens.
In the teens, okay. And then how many developers did you engage with?
4.
4? Okay. That's all I have, Mayor, thanks.
You bet. Any other comments? All righty, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next up is item C3, discuss reconvening the Charter Review Committee and the appointment of members.
Hello again, Mayor and Council, Erin Flores, City Secretary, Deputy Director of Administrative Services. So we are going to be talking about reconvening the Charter Review Committee. This was requested by Mayor Pro Tem Bennett Burton, and it was requested to be brought back after the election in May of this year. So just a little background, the last Charter Review Committee we had was in 2023. We are able to reconvene every 5 years. State law says you can reconvene every 2 years if you would like. If it's the will of the council to go forward with reconvening the committee, we've put together a little timeline to help facilitate that. So basically, the council members and mayor would submit up to 2 appointees and a chair appointment and submit those to the city manager by July 7th. Along with any specific topic discussions that you think the committee should talk about. And then we'll bring a study session item forward at the August 5th meeting so that you guys can, so that council can deliberate on a chairperson. We will run them through our normal process, application, background check, all of the normal things that we do. And then we'll bring forward a slate list at the August 19th meeting to actually appoint them to the committee. Direction that we do need from council is when exactly we would like to have the next charter election. The earliest that we could reconvene is November of 2026, or if we would like to have it on May of 2027 or May of 2028. And that's all I have.
Very good. Councilwoman Bennett?
So it would cost us what, approximately 30,000 to put it on the November 2026 as opposed to putting it on one of the May elections?
It would just depend on what else is going on the ballot for that year and other entities that are participating, but it would be probably around there.
Okay. Whereas if it's on a May election cycle, there's no extra expense, correct?
It would be cheaper, yes.
Okay. All right. I would go for the May 2027 then. That also gives us time to appoint and them time to get to know one another, because I would recommend that we not appoint the chair, that the committee themselves get to know one another and them appoint the chair for their own committee.
It does say in the charter that it's chosen by the council, but I can discuss with the city attorney and we can see what we could do about that.
Okay. And as for what goes on it, I know that the attorneys are bringing decorum back before us. And once we get through that discussion, I would like that to be baked into the charter.
Okay.
Okay. Councilman Roman?
So as I was talking to different individuals that I was considering for appointment, they had a few questions, so I just wanted to make sure that I relayed back accurate information so that they could assess whether it's something that they could actually do. Do we know how long? I guess part of it will be determined based off of what date. I'm supportive of May 2027 just from a pricing perspective. But if we go for May 2027 as the election date for the charter amendments, how long will they be meeting and what's the frequency? Is it monthly, every other week? What does that look like?
So if we finish out the slate list and forming the committee by, let's say, the second meeting in August, and they would start depending on how quickly we put it together, September, early October. So we would have roughly 14 months of meetings.
And would it be monthly?
I'm sorry, let me track back.
Sure.
We would have to end approximately 4 or 5 months prior to May so that we would have time to get everything on the ballot that we need. So more, probably like 9 or 10 months.
Okay.
The committee
And
could,
then how frequently would they be meeting?
Twice a month.
Twice a month?
Twice.
Okay. And do you know when I know last time the meetings were in the evenings. Is that kind of a cadence that we want to continue, or is that dependent upon the committee?
Typically, we try to do between 6 and 6:30 because that's easier for people to get there after work.
What day is the attorney here?
They're coming as needed now. So, we would work with them with their schedule.
And these meetings are going to be recorded as well. I think last time they were.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
they will be.
Wanted to make sure of that. Alrighty, that's it for now. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilman Reed?
The only thing I say is, or I have to say, I support the May 27 election date as well.
Councilwoman Villafranca?
Thank you. I appreciate you explaining everything so well. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Neal?
I would agree with the May 2027 timeframe. I would also see if there's any flexibility that the committee can decide amongst themselves as to what schedule they want to meet twice per month. If they have that flexibility that they decide they want to meet on Mondays, or maybe there's a Saturday they want to meet, just to give them some flexibility if that helps.
We'll try to work through that. I do know that, it would be based on the attorney's availability. There's a couple different factors that goes into there, but we could look into that and see.
Yes, and I would also agree, pending the attorney's input, to allow the committee themselves to choose their chairperson after a couple of meetings and them getting to know each other. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Do you have any input on that, Nicole?
I don't, other than I've put it on our task list. We will definitely research that for you guys.
Okay.
Thank you. So May 2027, I think, would be more than enough time to have a committee investigate what needs to be done. I would ask that all council members, we've requested this, so there must be some things in your minds that need to be addressed as part of the charter. So I would say compile a list and submit to the city manager. Excuse me, maybe try to get that done within the next month. That way you've got ample time to get that together, so staff can compile a list as they start formulating what this committee, at least the structure, is going to look like. Let the committee decide, that's fine, who their chairperson should be. Let them decide what date they want to meet, unless there's something that's going to be a glaring conflict. But we need to make it easy for our residents to participate, and we want to make sure that the folks that are appointed by each representative show for each of the meetings. So we've had, in the past, we've had some issues with attendance on some things, so we want to make sure that people are going to show. This is a very important item for the city, so.
Just making a point of clarification, if we could get the names, the appointees, by the 7th, July 7th, and that way we have plenty of time to get all of our information together for the next agenda, because we are required to get that in a month ahead of time, so we're already pushing the time limit on that one.
Do you want us to email those to you or have that
To
conversation
Ben,
here?
and then we'll get it compiled from there.
Thank you.
Okay, so the names of your two candidates by July 7th,
And chairperson.
and chair, okay. All right, anything else? Yes, sir.
I guess maybe more of a logistical question. How will we know who amongst, like, how do we know what the options are for chairperson if we're not privy to the list of names from the other council members?
So they'll be on a slate list.
Okay.
It's all the information is going to be on the packet for the August 5th meeting. So
Okay.
you guys will have time to go through it and look.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good, thanks.
Yeah.
You got what you need?
Yes, sir.
Very good, thank you. Next up is item C4, discuss ordinance number 3811 related to the City Council Code of Ethics, Section 2-280, regarding the endorsement of political candidates.
I believe Councilmember Neal, you had asked for this to be on the work session, is that correct?
That's correct. Mayor, it seems to me that regarding our most recent election, that there may have been some clear violations of this ordinance. And I'm not here to indict anyone for those violations in any way. I only wanted to bring this forward and see if the council feels that it's appropriate to continue this ordinance, number one, or number two, add additional conditions or parameters around its enforcement. And I know there's some good intentions behind this ordinance, but that seems to have quickly fallen off regarding our latest election. So I just wanted to bring this forth and see if we want to continue it, add some more details around strengthening it, or just to get some feedback from how the council feels about this particular ordinance. And I'd be happy to sit and listen, and I'll add some comments as appropriate.
Very good, we'll come back to you. Councilman Rowan.
Well, let's address the elephant in the room. I mean, I think you're referring to the election with Elizabeth and I think it was very clear that the mayor had openly endorsed candidates and helped finance them, and it does create an uncomfortable work environment, and I think the ordinance was well-intended, but if it's not going to be abided by, respected, and there are no consequences for breaking that, then I'm not sure there is a need for it. I think it's poor form to do that. But certainly open to having a discussion about additional parameters or conditions. From my recollection, when we had this discussion last, the issue with it being enforceable was that it was a violation of the First Amendment, freedom of speech. And Nicole is nodding her head that my recollection is accurate. And so we all certainly have our First Amendment right of freedom of speech and can openly endorse candidates. The question is, should we, and how would we regulate that or hold ourselves accountable when it does happen? Because that just creates division when you do that. That's it for me.
Councilwoman Bennett.
The first time this came forward, I think I'd been on council maybe 6 weeks at that point. And I vehemently fought against it because it is a First Amendment violation. And I'll stand on that. The second time it came forward, I conceded as it would be just a gentleman's agreement because it isn't enforceable. And we see how that went. So if I had my choice, I would go back to it just shouldn't be on the books at all because it doesn't matter what we add to it, it is unenforceable.
Councilman Reed.
I have to echo the sentiment regarding the fact that since it is unenforceable, it really doesn't make, and a clear violation of First Amendment rights, it does not make sense to have this ordinance on the books.
Councilwoman Villafranca.
I would agree, but I really do want to address the fact that we are on the council and that we are expected to live by higher standards than anybody, in my opinion. And when we, as council or mayor or anybody else, decide that it's okay to spread disinformation and share information on a mailing list that is not made public to everyone, it really makes me feel uncomfortable. It really makes me feel not at ease to know that we're actually getting away with doing these things and getting away with it. I know that this is not enforceable, and I know that the intent was good, but I just, if it's unenforceable, what's the point of having it?
Do you have any comments, Mayor, before I proceed, or?
I'm just listening to this, One, I think everybody here is entitled to their First Amendment right, which is to support candidate of their choice. I'm not sure I understand what Councilwoman Villafranca is referring to in terms of mailing list or whatnot. But I would say, our local elections are supposed to be nonpartisan, and yet there were mailers that were delivered to folks that said, "Dear Democrat voter," and advocating for a particular candidate. That clearly makes things seem like they're partisan. There were mailers that were delivered that referred to candidates and others as being MAGA Republicans. That clearly indicates partisanship. So you can't have it both ways. If you want to have your free speech, then have your free speech, but you can't try to restrict people and then not have a penalty or consequence for violating that restriction. So, again, I'm not here to take anybody's right away from them. They should have the right to endorse whomever they want, and they will have to live with the consequences of that, whether their candidate gets elected or not. But I think the overriding concern is in any campaign, is a lot of negative things are said about people. And you have to remember, all of us have to remember, anybody who's thinking of running for public office needs to remember that the people you're running against are your neighbors. They live in this community with you. And so the hateful things that you say, and especially put in print or whatnot, you're speaking out against your neighbor, and you're putting forth a mindset that, what are you going to do when you see that person in the grocery store? What are you going to do when person A gets elected versus person B? How are you going to treat those individuals either way? Everybody up here is just a resident of Farmers Branch trying to make the best business decision for the city. That's it. We're not here to impose our politics on anybody. We're not here to impose our will on anybody. So think about that the next time any of you run for office, and myself included. I never said anything about anybody. But yet, there were a lot of negative things that were put out about others that included me. It's hard to forget that sort of stuff, especially as a neighbor living in the same community, sharing the same community. It's hard to believe that that stuff just goes away at 7 p.m. on Election Day. So, Councilman Neal?
Yes, I did not have any intention here for us to get into the weeds of accusations as to who said what or who did what. I know was some good intention here behind this ordinance, and I agree with Councilwoman Villafranca that we should all strive to be above the fray when it comes to these elections, and I think we should probably just leave that to each individual to determine that fray level, if so be it. But as I sit here and I hear from my fellow council representatives, it seems that there's a concern surrounding and regarding First Amendment discussions and threats thereto. And secondly, I think primarily that maybe this ordinance should not be on the books. This is my feedback from what I'm hearing from council, and so therefore I'd be in favor of removing this ordinance if it be the will of the council.
Very good. Councilman Roman?
I certainly would be in favor of that, but Mayor, you brought this up, so I just wanted to mention this. You had mentioned that you don't want elections to be partisan, but I will remind you that the mailer you sent out during your first election said, vote Republican, vote for Terry Lynn, and you were at the Dallas County Republican meeting yesterday soliciting an endorsement.
Well, yes, I was, and I'm not going to
I
deny.
just want to make sure that
So
if you're saying something that that you will follow through with that in
Again,
the future.
Councilman, again, I have the right to go and campaign the way I want.
You certainly
And
do, but you are stating
I
here
was
that
not
you're prescribing certain rules to
Hold on.
everybody
Let me
that
speak.
You're not going to prescribe and follow yourself.
Wrong. There's nothing here that stops you from going to the Democratic Party and campaigning there or whatnot. There's nothing that stops me from making an appearance at a Republican meeting or a Democratic meeting, okay? I would go to either. So I didn't know you were following me, number one. Number two, that's...
I was not following you. I don't have the time for that.
Well, it sort of sounds like you were, but nevertheless, I got sucked into something, and I will admit that it was wrong. Yeah, I did vote Republican because my opponent at the time, when I ran for mayor, put out that he was attracting Democratic voters, and he had PR going to Democrats and soliciting Democrats to vote. And while that was the first move, maybe I shouldn't have done the second move. Hindsight, yeah, I regretted it. I had that discussion with my political consultant. But I don't think we're here to grade me or discuss me. We're here to discuss whether this ordinance has bearing staying in place or being removed. So if you want to have a discussion to evaluate me, let's get that item scheduled as a separate agenda item.
You opened the door for the discussion, and so I was only walking through that door and making comment on something that you had brought up. And as
Okay.
you said, we're not here to grade anyone else's campaigns, yet you were doing the same regarding another person who ran in this recent election. So I just want to make sure that if you're going to label and categorize certain actions and make certain rules and create parameters, that you hold yourself to those as well.
I will abide by the rules that are created.
And I
Council,
hope the ones that you're critical of as well.
thank you for your comment. Councilwoman Bennett?
I'm good.
Councilman Reed? Councilwoman?
I just feel that since you actually brought my name up, with all due respect, Mayor, this is really disingenuous of you for you to bring this up. Number one, I did not send out any negative mailer. I do not have control or power over what other PACs do. Number two, my opponent, who happens to be your campaign treasurer, sent out a mailer indicating that I had sued the city, which I have never sued the city, indicating that I was trying to defund the police. I am the greatest ally of the police, and I actually worked at the police department for many years. So I think it's disingenuous of you to come now and play the Mother Teresa card, when in reality, we need to check ourselves. We need to check ourselves, and we need to be honest with ourselves about what is going on. The email list that you send, we all know that you have an email list, that you send emails to people, and you think we don't get them, but we get them through other avenues, and only some people are allowed to be on the email list, and so I've actually got myself on there once or twice and then was removed. If you're the mayor for the entire city, then I think that everybody in the city should be entitled to your mailer, your distribution list.
So we're not here to discuss mailers. We're not here to discuss some of the areas.
I just brought it up because you brought it up. That's the
Well-
only reason. I had no intention, I had every intention of saying that we should not use this ordinance. The only reason that we're all
Okay,
bringing it
that's
up
all we,
is because
that's
you
all we need. If you're not in favor of the ordinance of disbanding or getting rid of the ordinance, that's all I need.
Great, but it is important to clarify who is lying and who
Thank,
is not.
well, nobody's lying,
We
and,
have direction. It sounds like
Thank
council
you.
wants us to bring forward an action item, actually repealing this
Yes.
section of the Code of Ethics, which we will do at the next council meeting.
anything else?
Thank you.
Very good. Next up is item C5, receive an update from the mayor and council members regarding board liaison information from outside organizations and other meetings attended. Councilman Roman?
I'm good.
Councilman Bennett?
I'm good.
Councilman Reed?
The only thing I wanted to bring up was on June 9th, we had the joint council meeting with planning and zoning. And I thought it was a very, very constructive and informational meeting. It was great to get together with those folks and discuss our agendas moving forward. And secondly, the next night was a fantastic evening, the Branch Connection grand opening, which myself and many of the council members attended. And it was great to see the facility open. The place was packed. So I look forward to them continuing the great service that they have provided historically in their updated facility.
Councilwoman Villafranca?
Had a wonderful couple of weeks. June 4th, attended the Chamber Luncheon. They've got a lot of great things going on. They have a golf tournament coming up. So all of you golf players, if you want to come out and support the Chamber, they're planning a trip to Greece next year, so you might want to check it out. I was invited to the Ladybug Invitational over at Brookhaven just to stop by to say hello, and they did a phenomenal job, all of those ladies there. I was able to attend the CFB ISD swearing in on June the 5th, and I'm just so proud of all of the people that put themselves out there to try to make our world a better place. On June the 5th, I attended the Transform Squire Park meeting at Vivian Field that was hosted by Councilman Roman, and they did a great job. The city staff does such a great job of engaging the community and just listening and being good partners in what, you know, we want to give you the park that you want, and they did a phenomenal job. On June the 6th, I was invited to the Latino Leadership Academy in downtown to speak, and I had the opportunity to meet CBS senior White House correspondent Ed O'Keefe, and it was just a great program of young, well, when you're 61, I guess everybody seems young, but young people that are just leaders in their community are doing great things, and I was honored to be able to speak there. On June the 7th, I attended the community garden meeting on a Saturday morning, and just a great group of people that love our city, that are growing fruits and vegetables and donating them to charity, and just a great job that they do. On June the 7th, Councilman Omar Roman and I had the wonderful opportunity to visit the Carrollton Pride event, and it was just great. The Mayor Bavick was there, our state representatives were there, and it was just a joyful day of fun. Very hot, but fun. And then June the 9th, we attended all of us were at the Joint Council Planning and Zoning meeting. It was a really good use of our time. I was able to learn a lot about what all of the goings on. June the 10th, Branch Connection reopening, and I just want to reiterate, I know I've told all of the staff in person, but you did such a phenomenal job. Everybody looks so happy and so joyful. Thank you for the great work. On June 11th, I was invited to go to the Brookhaven GED graduation, and it's all young people that sometimes we overlook, and they were there to get their GED, and they had a luncheon for them, and I was invited to speak, and they did a great job, and this is the first step, like their first step. To some of us, maybe we think a GED is not a big deal, but it is a big deal, because you have to start somewhere, so I was happy for that. On June 11th, I was at the MetroCrest Chamber board meeting. They do a great job at the Chamber. If you're a business owner, please consider joining the Chamber. June 11th, I attended the Sustainability Committee meeting, and they are just a great group of people. Alex, who heads that, the staff person that is there, does a great job of explaining information, and just really good. I did attend 2 funerals for our city. Luis Ramos, a long time resident, father of Guillermo Ramos, my deepest sympathies to him and his family, passed away, and they had his funeral on Friday. And then today, I saw a social media post last night, a family, Carol Brewster, who I read about in the Branch Herald back in February. It was her 102nd birthday in February. And the family put a social media post out last night and said she's outlived all of her friends and family. If you can find a way to be there, it sure would mean a lot to us. So I moved my schedule around this morning, and I was able to accompany them, and it was just so beautiful to share in their celebration of life. And that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Neal?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I think you have a little competition with respect to meeting attendance.
It's not a contest.
No, just quickly, I met with some Firehouse Theater folks regarding some budgetary concerns and items as their liaison. We've discussed those, and they'll be being brought forward during budget consideration time. I also met with the Oak Brook HOA people, and they extend their heartfelt thanks for the recent projects that are underway in their community, so an extended thank you to all for that. I also participated in the Squire Park get-together that Councilman Roan put together, as well as the P&Z joint meeting, so that's all.
Very good. So I'll report that I did have a meeting with Dr. Hopkins, president of Dallas College Brookhaven campus, regarding Farmers Branch Creek and erosion. Some of our neighbors on the in the Wooded Creek neighborhood, which is across the creek from Dallas College, are complaining about erosion and whatnot. So I went over there to meet with neighbors, then I went over to meet with the college to get their perspective on erosion. And I know we've had a couple members from city staff that have been taking a look at that issue. The Cub Scouts had their week-long summer camp at the Farmers Branch Historical Park, and as usual, they invite council and mayors and police chiefs and fire chiefs and whatnot to come out. So I was there for a short time. That was the same night as the Squire Park Vision meeting, and kudos to the staff for organizing that the way they did and just spending time. It's a shame that there weren't more residents from the area there to really get educated on what could be a park renovation, but maybe that'll come in time. But the staff did a really good job of conveying information. We had the Dallas Regional Mobility Commission meeting, and of course, transportation and transportation-related projects seem to be one of the key drivers for certainly the economy in North Texas. The I-35 Phase 2 project is running about 6 months behind schedule now. I speak to the project engineer every month and have been getting an update, and they were on schedule. Well, now we're about 6 months behind schedule. So we're looking at about mid-26 for Phase 2 of I-35 to be completed. Our MetroCrest Chamber of Commerce had a event where they signed a memorandum of understanding with the U.S.-India Chamber of Commerce. And that was attended by Mayors Addison, Carrollton, and myself, as well as a few other folks. Our world's getting smaller, and so our trading partners are getting closer. And this memorandum of understanding was one of the ways in which we can work to increase commerce and increase business opportunities with our partners overseas. Of course, we had the Metroplex Mayors meeting, and at that meeting, they had a guest speaker was the Dean of the UNT College of Music, talking about all the different music programs that UNT offers. And in fact, the a cappella choir for UNT was at a competition in Germany, an international competition in Germany last week, and they ended up winning that competition and being selected the International A Cappella Choir of the Year from all of those entries from all over the world. That's pretty outstanding. We want to congratulate them. Of course, we had the Branch Connection grand reopening, which was very well attended. I'm sorry to those who did not get food. They should have gotten there earlier, but it was well attended by council and residents, and didn't hear one complaint that night, which is a milestone in and of itself. So everybody who's there, I think they really enjoy that new building, and certainly we want to make sure that it's getting maximum use. The Regional Transportation Commission or Council continues to work on transportation issues. Meeting was last Thursday. Our representative, we share a representative seat with Carrollton. Our representative is Mayor Babick. And while I was there, unfortunately, I don't get to speak at those meetings, but one of the topics of conversation was DART. And we continue to work on possible solutions moving forward as far as DART's concerned. Earlier that morning, on Thursday morning, I had a meeting with Dallas Councilwoman Paula Blackman, specifically regarding DART, and discussing ways that we might be able to help work together to get the DART board to change some of their thinking, because as it stands now, the situation with at least 5 member cities and DART is not good. And nobody's saying they're against mass transit, but the way DART is organized and the money that cities are paying doesn't seem to be equitable, et cetera, et cetera. So we will continue to work in that regard. We could have a whole town hall just on DART by itself, but we are headed for some very serious decision-making as it relates to DART. Happy to report that Bedrosian's Tile and Stone Showroom finally opened in Farmers Branch. Bedrosian's has a big facility down on 635 just east of Luna Road. I would encourage folks to go in there and just take a look and see what all they have. They did a great job on the building. They have lots of tile, stone, flooring selections, so be sure to take note of that. Last Friday, the North Central Texas Council of Governments had their General Assembly meeting and elected a new board. They also gave out several awards, and one of the awards that was given was to a group called Constellation of Living Memorials. And this is a group that works with cemeteries. They work to try to, I do a lot of things. I'm trying to figure out how to concisely say this, but help restore cemeteries, especially old historic cemeteries, some that have been neglected for years, and build community engagement to sort of adopt some of these neglected historical cemeteries and bring them back to life, if you will. And so I had discussion with the folks after they received their award about three of our cemeteries. We have the Marsh Cemetery in Farmers Branch. We have the Webb Chapel Cemetery, the Webb family, and then we also have the Keenan Cemetery, all of which could use some assistance and some help. So I look forward to having more discussion with them, and I'm going to bring something up in a moment in regards to that. And then this morning we had the MetroCrest Hospital Authority Board meeting. The hospital reported that they had a really good month in May, and hospital visits were up, admissions were up, but we're getting into the summer months, which means doctors are going to be taking vacations and whatnot, so they're expecting to see a drop in activity, but it'll pick back up in the fall, as the director of the hospital said, because doctors then will have to pay for their summer vacations. So they're going to do more surgeries and whatnot in the fall. But one of the things that is going to be coming to Carrollton Regional Medical Center is a molecular lab. And that, from the introduction that we were given today, was very interesting, very promising. So they will be able to do a DNA analysis, gene analysis, gene therapy, and things like that, that they have not been able to execute in the past. So I look forward to getting more updates from them on that as they develop that lab and that program. That's all I have. Next up is item C6, review and discuss future agenda items. Councilman Roman?
I'm good.
Councilwoman Bennett?
I'm good.
Councilman Reed?
I have nothing at this time.
Councilwoman Villafranca?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Councilman Neal?
I don't have anything to add, but I would like some clarification of a few items that are on the current list. One of which I think, or two of which I think it's Councilman Roman put forth regarding reporting of crimes and such. Seems as though there's a July 15th and then again an August 5th. Is it August 5th is an executive session to discuss what happened or may have happened on the July 15th? I'm just not clear, because they both have the same topic and title. If you look at that list. And it's just not clear to me, that's all. It may not-
Aaron's coming.
Okay. Right.
It was a duplicate. We took it off.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That takes care of that. Thank you. And then one other one I think is that was put forth by the mayor on the very bottom of the list. It has request a bond review committee task force for FY 2027 related to boats, RVs, and trailers.
No.
Yes.
Bond committee is one thing.
Okay, because it's all in one
Yeah.
line there, so I'm confused about why are we considering a bond for boats and RVs? Okay, so
We're not.
it's-
We split it out.
It's-
In our minds, it was, we need to do these things, but we split it out.
okay,
Yeah.
just, that's all I needed, some clarification on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And I have one item, and that is I would like to investigate or have staff look into whether Constellation of Living Memorials, this group, could be of benefit in helping us with our cemeteries here in the city. So that is that. I'm going to read us into executive session, so bear with me for a few minutes. Item D1, City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.072 to discuss the sale of real property located at 13309 Josie Lane. Item D2, the City Council will convene into closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.087 to discuss economic incentives for the Farmers Ranch Project 2025-010. Item D3, the City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code Section 551.087 to discuss current economic development project negotiations and status of same. And item D4, the City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074 personnel to discuss and evaluate the city's legal representation. With that, we will recess and meet back in the city manager's conference room, 10 minutes.
What was your agenda?